This tutorial will show you how to make a cute empire waist skirt with an elastic back and pockets. I'll walk you through how to make the pattern for yourself and then how to put it together.
You want to make sure that you have the waist measurement, the upper bust measurement, the high hip measurement, and it'll be right around your hip bone if you want an idea of where that's going to be. You can also get the full hip measurement. You want to see where the fullest part of your body is and then measure the distance. And then you want to make sure you have the distance in between each of your measurements.
Start by making a grid with your upper waist, your upper hip, and your full hip, using the distance between each of the measurements.
So we're doing the front first. This is the front pattern piece. So this is going to be the center front. We're going to start with the waist measurement. So first you want to divide your waist measurement by 4. Since your waist measurement, since this part is just going to be half of the front, that means it's 1/4 of your body. So you want to divide your waist measurement by 4. However, we're going to need to add a dart in here. You want to measure over 4 inches and make a note that's going to be the first leg of your dart. And 1 inch wide, that's pretty standard. Since we're adding that 1 inch dart, that means that the whole length of this
is going to be 1 inch longer.
That means this point right here is the length of my waist. So this is where my waist point ends, and this is the darts. So measure the center of the dart there. So you're going to measure down to this upper hip line here. Make the legs of your dart connect to that line. So now you have your dart here. This is the length of your waist.
For the upper waist, you're going to do the same thing that you did for your waist. So you will divide your measurement by 4 and then add 1 inch for the dart.
So then we're going to, you want to connect these two, but you don't really want to do it. You want to give it like a little bit of a curve rather than a straight line, just because that gives it a little bit more stretch around the waist. It can keep it from like wrinkling on this part if you give it just that slight curve there. Now for me, this empire waist, I actually wanted it to come up just a little bit, like just give it a nice shape there. You don't have to do this if you don't want, but I decided I want to come up 1/2 inch here and then go a little bit straight. On the center here, you always kind of want to go a little bit straight right to the center so that it doesn't end up coming to a peak. Curving it down to this point here. And that way you can get the top of it curved a little bit like that. And now let's get the upper hip. Again, take the measurement and divide it by 4. And so I'm going to measure over. And then your full hip. So that's the point where my full hip is. Draw a line between these two. Okay. Now here's where we're going to decide on the length of our skirt. This depends entirely on your style. If you want it floor length or knee length or like a short skirt. However you want to do it. First, you'll measure down the front here, and I'm going to end up needing to add another piece of paper to mine, but for now I'll just add that. So how far down is this? So figure out, it'll be, so if you took your measurement from your waist, make sure to measure from your waist down. And it looks like that's about 15 3/4 from there. But then also, depending on where you do it, look for the next part. Measure how far that is from your upper hip number. So that's 11.5 there. So now you want to go over here, and from this point here, you'll measure the same length. So this length and the length you're going to make here are going to be the same. And the only thing that you have to do is make sure that when you're taking this measurement, see, this is the width of your full hip. You just want to make sure that you get farther than that. So So you don't want to bring the skirt in this way. You want to make sure you swing it out enough that way so that it's going to be bigger than your full hip. And I measured 11.5, so this is where I'm going to. And you're going to measure down like that. And then from this point to this point here, you're just going to make a swoop. So just make that curve up there. Oh, the dart up here. I almost forgot to tell you about the dart. So the dart going up, you just need to bring those legs up. Just bring them straight up, perpendicular, like that. And that's how that works. Now, while we're here, you also are going to need to think about the facing. So the top here is going to need a facing. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking this waistline. So it'll just be, here, let me trace it out. This part here. So that is going to end up being the facing. If you want to end up cutting this out of the dart and then just having it as one facing piece without a dart in it, you can do that too. But this, you're going to need a facing for the front, and that's what the facing is going to be. Oh, one more thing I forgot to show you. So right now this is kind of a hard line here. We just want to smooth out that line a little bit. No big deal. So just make this a little bit of a curve. It's not that, don't need to be too precious about it. Just kind of getting that corner away. And then I will show you how to go about doing the back based on how you did the front. Okay, to start with, for the back, we're going to do the same thing we did for the front, and that is going to make those lines. The first thing we're going to do, instead of doing the perpendicular, what we want to do is to line this up on this side. Oh, I did 3.5. Just automatically did 4. Oops. That's okay. This is why I usually use pencil, but that's okay, because you can't see pencil on the camera. So the first thing that we're going to do is line this up here. Oh, that was wrong. And you are going to just trace the side of the front. That is also going to be the side of the back. So that's going to be the side of the back. Now, since the back is going to have an elastic waistband, we don't need to have darts in it the way that we do for the front. So really all we need to do is find from here where the center of the back is going to be, and I am doing that based on the waist measurements. What we're going to do is we are doubling the width of the whole back of it so that we can gather it and have so that means instead of dividing the back measurement by 4, we actually only need to divide it by 2, and that's going to be the whole length of the back. And I am doing this just based on the waist length. The rest of it will just kind of fall in place because it's going to be long enough, and the waist is the part that's going to be gathered. So this right here is where my back is going to be, the center back. So make a perpendicular line at that point at the waist. The waist is all we're worried about right now. And this length here from the upper hip to the bottom should be the same as it is in the back, in the front. Now the only other thing that you need to do is consider that this part right here is actually going to be a waistband. In the back, we're actually going to be separating this waistband, this piece here, from the rest of the skirt. and you're going to cut 2 of them. This is going to be a stitch line here. You want to stitch this because then you'll have the casings here to add your elastic. So that's really all you have to do for the back. So you want to cut out this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece, and then you have the front, and you'll want to trace the front facing. So this is going to be one front piece, plus then trace this for the facing. Whereas for the back, these are 2 separate pieces. But what you're going to do is you're going to cut these all out, and then you have to add seam allowance. So don't forget to add your seam allowance. The center back here and the center front here are going to be on the fold. So you don't add seam allowance to that seam, but you do add seam allowance around everything else.
Start by sewing the darts in the front. Next, you're going to sew 1 waistband piece to the top of the back piece. Press the seam allowance up towards the waistband. Now we're going to add the pockets. I have the pocket pattern available to download if you follow the link in the description below, or you can use your own pocket pattern. Add them about 4 inches down from the top of the skirt to both the front and the back pieces. Then you want to press the pockets away from the skirts. Place the front and back skirts on top of each other, matching up the sides and the pockets. And then sew down the sides of the skirts and around the pocket. When you're finished, turn the skirt right side out and press the pockets so that they are flat and mostly invisible. Apply interfacing to the front facing and sew the darts. You also want to fold over or finish the bottom edge of the front and back facings. Then you want to sew the front and back facing together along the short edges. Leave a gap in the middle of the seam so that you'll be able to get the elastic through later. Sew the facing all the way along the top of the skirt with right sides together, matching the side seams. Understitch and press the facing to the inside of the skirt so that you have a nice neat finish at the top. Now you want to sew just the back facing down, ditch stitching at the bottom of the waistband, or you can top stitch if you don't like ditch stitching. The next step is to sew a line of stitches down the center of the waistband, the whole width of it. This will create a casing for the elastic. Get a piece of elastic that is slightly longer than half of your waist and insert it through the lower casing. Pull the elastic enough so that it feels comfortable when you try it on. Sew the elastic in place along the side seams and then sew up the gap in the facing. All that's left to do is to hem the bottom edge of the skirt. And now you're finished. You have a really cool new skirt with an elastic back so it'll stay comfortable, but look really nice in the front.